Hey everyone, these are the absolute value guided notes. To get started, it asks us to plot some numbers on the number line. It says plot -2 and 5 on the number line. So we have -2 and 5. Which value is closer to 0? Well, it looks like -2 is closest to 0. Plot -7 and 3 on the number line below. So we have -7 and 3. Then it asks us which value is closest to 0. We have that distance, and then we have this distance. So it looks like 3 is closer to 0. Plot -6 and 6 on the number line. Okay, did that. Which value is closest to 0? Well, we have that distance and that distance, and they are the same distance away from 0. How did you determine which number was closer to 0? I counted how many units each number is from 0. The number with the smallest distance is closer to 0. This is how you determine absolute value. Absolute value is the distance a number is away from 0. The absolute value of -2 is 2 because it is 2 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of 5 is 5 because it is 5 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of -6 is 6 because it is 6 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of 6 is 6 because it is 6 spaces away from 0. Can the absolute value of a number ever be negative? No, it cannot, because absolute value is a distance, and distance is always positive. The absolute value symbol looks like this, these two vertical lines. If the question says determine the absolute value of 8, this is asking to determine the distance that 8 is away from 0. So the absolute value of 8 is 8. The absolute value of -15, that's what that symbol right there means, is asking to determine the distance that -15 is away from 0. So the absolute value of -15 is 15. The absolute value of -8 and the absolute value of 8 are both equal to 8 because they are both 8 away from 0. Comparing, write less than, greater than, or equal in the blanks. The absolute value of -20 and the absolute value of 3. The absolute value of 20 is greater than the absolute value of 3 because -20 is further away from 0. The absolute value of -5 and the absolute value of 42. Absolute value of -5 is less than the absolute value of 42 because 42 is further away from 0. The absolute value of -10 and the absolute value of 10. Those are equal because they are the same distance away from 0. If the absolute value of x equals 16, the possible values of x are -16 and 16, because -16 and 16 are both 16 spaces away from 0. If the absolute value of y equals 5.5, the possible values of y are -5.5 and 5.5. because they are both 5.5 spaces away from 0. Practice. The absolute value of -2 is 2, because it's 2 spaces from 0. Absolute value of -22.5 is 22.5. That is the distance from 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. And the absolute value of 5 plus 8. Well, 5 plus 8 is 13, so the absolute value of 13 is 13, because that's the distance from 0. Now we are comparing. So the absolute value of -3.5 is 3.5, and the absolute value of 6.5 is 6.5. So 3.5 is less than 6.5. Over here, the absolute value of -50 is 50. The absolute value of 23 is 23. So 50 is greater than 23. The absolute value of a equals 8, so a can equal -8 or 8. They are both 8 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of b is 21.2, so b can equal -21.2 or +21.2, because they are both 21.2 spaces away from 0. Below is a chart of bank account totals of people who are in debt. First, what does it mean to be in debt? To be in debt means the amount of money is less than zero. Absolute value can help us determine who has the smallest and largest debts. All right, so it's asking us who has the largest debt. And if we look right here, Randy has the largest debt because the absolute value of 45.23 is furthest from zero. An absolute value of negative 45.23 is 45.23. Who has the smallest debt? The smallest debt is going to be Jose because that is the closest number to zero. Absolute value of negative 1.22 equals 1.22. So let's go ahead and figure these out. So the absolute value of the total is 45.23, 1.22, 15.02, and 23.49. Notice that they are all positive. Sea level has an elevation of 0. So when you're at sea level, you're at 0 elevation. Jen and her friends went scuba diving while on vacation. Emily is about blank feet below. So here's Emily right here. And if I were to guess, that looks about 12 feet below sea level because the absolute value of negative 12 is 12. Jen is about 48 feet below sea level. The absolute value of negative 48 is 48. Which person is the furthest below sea level? The furthest distance from zero looks like Amber. And explain how you know, because her distance from zero is the greatest. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.